Let me wind up. Party non-stop. Ramage dingo like que we come to play mass. Every creed and class. Don't let nothing pass. Like a repetitive, all the love inside away.
First woman Prime Minister. First woman Attorney General. First woman to chair the Commonwealth of 54 nations. First woman opposition leader. Welcome KPB Plus. Solid everywhere.
Like a repetitive, all the love inside away.
Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us here in your numbers in this cottage meeting. Yes, Melvin, thank you very much. Let us thank our chairpersons this evening, Councillor, Ramona Victor. Give a round of applause. Mayor Donat Meru, thank them all, and the powerful lineup of speakers here tonight. MP Tanku, MP Dr. Bodo, and MP Dr. Munilal. Powerful speakers all here tonight in this lineup. And we are in a very nice place. My office is just 3 minutes away from here. But here is a confluence of all these constituencies. You may or may not know that. Coming together here, the constituency of Siparia, the constituency of Faizabad, and the constituency of Oropouche East, and the constituency of Oropouche West, the lion himself. So thank you all very much. Thank you. Let us also welcome MP Dr. C. Sharan, MP Padarat, MP Indar Singh, MP David Lee, Senator Jalen John, Mayor Faik, are you here? Thanks for joining us down here, and Deputy Mayor Melissa, Senator Damian Lyder, Senator Anil Roberts, all the councillors and all the men tonight, welcome and thank you for being here. I have several matters I would like to raise tonight, and before I get into the substance of that, I want to welcome all of you again and thank you. I want to extend best greetings, best wishes to all of you for a holy, very blessed Christmas season, filled with goodwill, filled with happiness and peace. I ask you to reach out even more to the many distressed and less fortunate persons suffering some form of hardship, and there are many in our country. I urge you to be extremely cautious with your safety and security, since blood continues to flow in our unending violent crime crisis. As I said before I go into the substance of issues, I just want to share some party matters with you. I had announced that we will be opening nominations for the general elections so that we will be ready whenever those elections are called. Tonight, I want to advise you to take notice that the forms will be available from Monday, the 11th December at the party headquarters in Chaguanas, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., except, of course, during the lunch hours. Every registered member of our party who has been a member for over 1 year is entitled to collect a form and file a nomination. Our constitution is clear. You have to be a member for at least 1 year. Only then will you qualify to become a nominee for general elections. We have had a lot of inquiries for these nomination forms, and so we request you to please call the head office. The staff will give you an appointment date and time, started from Monday, as I said, 11, to collect. There's enough time for everyone who wants to get a form. Karen is the one at the headquarters dealing with these forms. There are new sections to be filled out, and so she would go through with you these new parts of the form that have to be filled, other procedural issues, and so we're allocating time each day from the 11th where the staff will provide you with an appointment time. We are doing this because of security issues. We do not need a convergence of a mass. We don't need a carnival band. We need you to be serious. This is serious business. So the staff has asked for measures because when the office and yard are crowded, they will not be able to monitor what is happening for everyone's safety. So these are the safety measures. You call, you get an appointment, you go and collect your form and sign in at the head office. You will not receive a form if you walk in without an appointment. This, I say, is important. Call head office, get the appointment. We do not need any juve ban, as I say, conversion on the headquarters. Go at that time, ask any questions you want, and get your forms and file your nomination papers at the earliest opportunity. Now, I gave an update on a previous occasion at one of our cottage meetings. Local elections, budget, all the things we've been doing. The cottage meetings we started again. The pavement reports going very well. And let me congratulate MP Tanku, who is the main organizer for the meeting tonight. We thank him and his constituents. And of course, the others who are here. We've had several party events, and I say I'm updating you because some people don't know because they don't go to anything and they don't read the news. So I want to congratulate MP Arnold Ram, who hosted our 5K run yesterday in Chaguanas. That was a resounding success. Arnold is an exceedingly hard worker for our beloved party. He has organized previously football tournaments, cricket matches, card competitions, and now this 5K run. All of these have been very profitable, bringing in some much needed funding into the party. Can we thank everyone?
Now is the time for it to jam on somebody. Hand up in the air, madness everywhere. It is with DNA. So get on bad when we are the roadway. We like we always tell them freedom with DNA.
At the El Dorado Fan Tent, Cora Road. Of course, you're invited, and you can tune in to hear the speakers at that meeting, local government reps and our DPL John, MP Sicharan, Senator Nakin, and our Tunapuna Piako Corporation Minority Leader Councillor Sukde Praki Bharat. So join in for that on Thursday. I advise you again, our UNC Christmas dinner is on December 16th. Tickets are on sale. You can get them from the MPs, from senators, councillors, and national executive. I hope I can see some of you all there on the 16th of December. Further activity, party activity, all MPs are advised to do appreciation events in their constituencies, distribute hampers, and of course Christmas treats. We are awaiting the government's giving out or distributing the food cards that were promised. You remember when we were in government, whether it was Diwali, Eid, Christmas, we did several things. We gave all the organizations for that particular event, we gave them grants to assist their congregations. We moved the VAT off the prices of certain basic items. And in addition, we gave out hampers in every single constituency. This year, today is already, the 4th of December, and we have not had any word from government about the food cards that they promised. As Munilal told us, Rowley absconded, so the whole government collapsed. So today I'm calling on the government to give the promised food cards to every MP in this country. Every single MP. And I ask the opposition MPs, when you get these food cards, and of course their own hampers that you will raise to give out, to give to the less fortunate. I want to make it clear that these food cards, should you get them, must go to people who need them. These cards and hampers should be not used for politicking, to leverage, to gain political support for yourself. Please treat the less fortunate with respect and dignity. If any MP or their staff tells you that you need to support that MP politically to get a hamper or food card, please call or message me ASAP and we will deal with it right away. They will only have these hampers and food cards. Why? Because you voted for them to put them there. And it's only there because they are MPs of United National Congress. They will have none of this if they were not MPs of the UNC. The only prerequisite you need is that you must be in need of that hamper or that food card. So food should not be used as a political tool to to gain support. That is why I call for every single MP, whether PNM opposition, that the government should distribute these food cards ASAP so we can get it out to people in need. Most MPs, I ask of you to host a children's Christmas treat. Our treat in Siparia, I can advise, is on Saturday the 9th of December, which is coming Saturday. And I've recommended for MPs a Christmas appreciation event for your activists in your constituencies. Do you agree with that? We treat the children and we take care of our activists in each constituency. And thank you. I hope you'll help us find the treats and the toys. You will? Okay. I'm coming to look for you. We're coming to look for you. Wow, we will. And of course, last Saturday, Dr. Munilal celebrated his birthday. Can I say how many years? No? All right. He will tell you. He celebrated his 16th birthday, which means he cannot vote and he cannot be an MP. So I should tell them how many years. We congratulate him, wish him a belated happy birthday on his 57th birthday, so he could vote and he could file a nomination paper as well. So these are some party activities. We'll keep you updated as we go along. And when there are those say, well, what is the party doing? You'll be told. The party or UNC party is working hard, working strong, and we will continue so to do. On February 25th, 2022, 5 divers woke up in the morning. They left their families. 4 of them never returned home. I remind the nation, several of you have spoken, but I want to speak of them because it's a very painful tragedy. Their names: Faisal Kuban, Rishi Nagesa, Kazim Ali Jr., and Yusuf Henry. May their souls rest in peace. The lone survivor, Christopher Budram, he shared the horrific nightmare he endured. I remember speaking to him and he said he could hear the knocking from the pipe. He says that song haunts him up to today. Haunts him because he knew that they could have been rescued, they could have been saved. And he endured that nightmare, crawling through that pipe. Just the thought of that, to crawl through that pipeline, I mean, it is mind-blowing, mind-blowing, that nightmare. 3 hours crawling through that pipe, desperately fighting to survive. A report was submitted, as Munilal told you, to the president last Friday by Chairman Lynch. 15 million has been spent on this inquiry and counting. But shamefully, not one black or red cent was given to the families of these men. Not one, up to today, not one. Not one. Chairman Lynch was very clear. He said what happened was not an act of God. You know what that means? It was not an act of God. So what can that be? What can that mean? What is left to be to understand? If it was not an act of God, then it was action or inaction of human beings. Not an act of God. Not an act of God. It was something that was done, not done. Act or action, omission. Munilal explained it for us. And that is why that report must be made public as soon as possible. We must know what happened so we can avoid it from happening again. We must know what happened, so where the blame lies, Dr. Munilal called for corporate manslaughter. Wherever the blame lies, they should take that blame. But we must never ever forget, as he told us, we must never forget, because we make sure it doesn't happen again. Because if we don't learn from our mistakes, we are doomed to repeat the same mistakes of the past. Several other reports have been hidden away. The CLICO report. I filed a freedom of cause to be filed a FOIA to find out what happened to that CLICO report. The Prime Minister came in the Parliament years ago and he said what? He said, no, we're not making it public. I'm passing it to the Attorney General and the DPP for them to see if there's any criminal conduct. Don't wait to find out criminal conduct. Publish the report. Put it out on the public. Let people see that report now. You cannot abscond and hide that report as you've done with so many others. And that CLICO report up to today has not seen the light of day. You know why? We speculate. We ask, is it because PNM persons were implicated in that Clico report? Remember Faris Al-Rawi? I'm not saying he's implicated. That same Faris Al-Rawi was working with Clico in one of their branches. Can't remember exactly where, but in one division of that, he was there. He was implicated in that regard, that he was a member. I do not say there was any criminal conduct by him, but we want to know why up to today you're hiding that report when so many people suffered. Now, with this report, people died. With this incident, with that report, people lost their money. People lost money. Up to today, they have not been able to recover that money from when Clico sank. So, Mr. Rowley, give instructions so you're acting. In fact, that fella should win an Oscar nomination, an Oscar for acting on so many occasions, call him Imbert. He's a great actor. He has acted because why? As I rule to you and I will tell you, the frequent flyer is always flying out the country, doesn't have time to govern here. So send instructions. You have phone, you have text, you have emails. Send an instruction to Colin Imber that report is the acting Prime Minister. So the fact that Rowley is not here, the country is not without a Prime Minister. You have a Prime Minister in action, acting. Okay? And therefore, please give instruction that report should be released ASAP to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. As we move on, we'll call election, and then when we are in office, we'll publish that report on the same day that we join the government of Trinidad and Tobago. When we form that government, on the same day, we will reveal these hidden reports. So we are awaiting Rawls's decision about these famous proposed anti-crime talks. Remember? His primary source of anguish and pain was Gary Griffith, whom I agreed to leave out, exclude. I said, Gary boy, stay home now. Let's just get these talks going, because if we save one life, we save many. So if Gary Griffith is troubling Prime Minister Rowley, he don't want to see me, don't want to talk to him, Gary, stay home. Gary said, yes, I will give up to make sure this thing happens. So we excluded Gary, hoping that this man will calm his fears and insecurities and his anguish about Gary. Since then, not a word. Still not a word. From October 14th, I shared my concerns. Thereafter, I've shared with the Prime Minister again, Gary, not there, man. You don't have to be frightened. Come, let's do these talks. Not a word. I hope that they can invite other stakeholders. If you don't want Gary, there are many other stakeholders. Everyone has tried to reason with this man through letters, public calls, private messages. His behavior pattern of treating national issues is almost predictive. You could predict how he'll behave. When he returns from this lavish taxpayer-funded trip from London, I can bet you that he will speak for another 2 hours in a press conference and boof everybody all over again. That is his behavior. As I said before, the UNC will come to you. We will begin our own anti-crime consultations throughout the length and breadth of our country. We'll come to your communities, listen to your concerns about crime, and share our crime-fighting plans. I've asked our 3 deputy leaders to craft the drafting of it and for us to begin. So Deputy Leader John, Deputy Leader Dr. Munilal, and Deputy Leader Dr. Lee, the 3 of you send us a draft program so we can begin anti-crime talks throughout the length and breadth of our country. I turn to another issue. As Prime Minister, I had appointed Professor Selbin Ryan to chair a committee to look at the root causes of crime. I lay that report entitled No Time to Quit, Engage in Youth at Risk. I laid that report in our parliament. This is a copy of the report which I shared with you some time ago and would like to again raise this report. It is about 437 pages of labor done by the late Professor Ryan in that committee that I had set up to give us some ideas to deal with crime. Together with Professor Ryan on that committee was Dr. Indira Rampersad as Deputy Chair, Dr. Lennox Burdard, Professor Patricia Mohammed, and Dr. Marjorie Thorpe, all persons of great value and great commitment. It was not a UNC or partnership report. It was a report by qualified experts who spent long hours of labor to create this 437-page report to give us a way of dealing with crime, and especially youth at risk, which is where we are seeing a lot of the crime now coming out of the young people. They have never picked up this report. And if they do, then we would be able to deal with some of the crime that the country is facing now. But they have no time for this. As we say, they abscond every time there's a problem in this country. In this report, Professor Ryan stated, and I quote, "It became obvious to us that the propensity to crime resulted from certain conditions, including broken and dysfunctional families, juvenile delinquency, peer rejection, failure or disruptive behavior at school, gang membership and incarceration." He continues, as I quote, "This is matched by the availability of drugs, numerous opportunities for young men to gravitate to crime as an easy but dangerous way to earn a living, and a marked change in societal values over the last 6 decades since the promise of independence." End of quote. End of quote. I spoke before, of some of these issues, of the root causes of crime, and some suggestions how we can deal with these things. Here we have seen it all over again, disruptive behavior in schools, the gangs, all of it, really at an all-time high. We had a recent media report. I want to turn to an issue arising out of these matters of the breakdown of society and values. Recent media reports which revealed that over 2,000 cases of sexual abuse of girls and 500 cases of sexual abuse of boys being made to the Children's Authority between 2020 and 2021. Between 1 year, 2020, 2,000 girls sexually abused, and boys, 500 boys in this year, 2020 and 2021. I feel compelled in light of those reports to speak on this matter. The increase in sexual abuse in our society over the past decade has many reasons. Still, 2 of the main concerns are the over-sexualization of children by adults and the pornography epidemic. The innocence of childhood is being destroyed with an overload of sexual content being made available to children. Over-sexualized content is directed at children as young as 5 years old through video games, television shows, cartoons, movies, advertisements, and social media. Individuals are also exposing children to sexually charged conversations, innuendo, music, dancing, and behaviors. I know this is not a nice topic to speak about, but when in 1 year 2,000 young girls have been sexually abused, we have to stand up, we have to talk about it, and we have to discuss how best we can help deal with these matters. Individuals are exposing children, as I say, to sexually charged conversations, innuendo, music, dancing, and behaviors. It is not uncommon to see adults engaging in sexually suggestive and inappropriate behaviors in public or private events in the presence of children and teenagers. Individuals and society are forcing children to appear sexually attractive and engage in behaviors that are not age appropriate for the proper mental development of children. Take note, our boys and girls are being groomed through internally on themselves, and adults exploit this. Teens are facing pressure to become sexually active at younger ages because of poor social values. 13-year-old girls and boys are encouraged to look sexually active. 25-year-olds, they've been dressing like they are adults. 25-year-olds, teenagers. You in the home, you have a duty to monitor this and, police it and take charge. Sexually overt behavior targeted at children has become normalized because hypersexualized influencers and advertisers now determine social values. And to compound this, there is an epidemic of pornography addiction affecting both children and adults. Pornography addiction is a severe issue that should not be taboo for discussion. As compared to decades ago, pornography is now readily available on various internet platforms. Pornography addiction is similar to other addictions and can have very serious effects. In addition to mental issues, socialization is affected and individuals' expectations of relationships become skewed, which leads to sexual violence. And this paves the way as we go down the road for crimes, sexual crimes in our society. Pornography addiction is the fastest growing addiction in the world. You know, last week I talked about the drugs and the marijuana and the increase of the age to 25, from 18 to 25. You know, somebody said? They said you should have said that 25 years ago. But 25 years ago, all marijuana was illegal. It is this PNM government that legalized the marijuana, putting from age 18 onwards, and I gave the reasons last week why we should increase that age. And then someone said, you know, I think it was Marlon on a talk show. He said, you know what happened? People don't have to go on the drug block again to find marijuana. Because why? The drug block is now in your house. Because this government legalized that you could plant marijuana in your house. So we are talking about drug addiction. I talked about it last week. This week I'm talking about pornography addiction, which is the fastest growing addiction in the world. Looking for my napkin, I'm sorry, found it. So this has become a silent epidemic for adults and children. During COVID lockdowns and extended periods when people had to stay home, pornography viewing by children and adults skyrocketed. And this would have been one factor contributing to the increased cases of sexual abuse. TNT is under siege for many crime issues. We cannot reduce sexual crimes without publicly acknowledging the driving factors behind them, even if it is an uncomfortable discussion. I therefore call on government, civil society, TAT, the Media Association, and any willing stakeholders to come together to begin discussions on social, legislative, educational interventions to address pornography addiction and the exploitation and over-sexualization of our children. And all you adults sitting here tonight, you have a duty to think about this, read about it, and do something. When your child dresses up to look like 25 years old, but is already 15 years old, tell her no. Tell them no, you cannot go out like that. I remember when we were growing up, our parents were very restrictive, some of you remember. We couldn't wear clothing without sleeves. Anybody else went through that? Yes, we had to go with a little sleeve. Well, now, no straps, forget strapless, completely no straps. At that age, under 18, you couldn't do those things. And even when you're over 18, your mother will tell you, hey, you're going out like that, No way, not at all. I ask you as parents, you have the first duty in your home. And I ask you and beg you, do not be afraid to discuss this matter. Let us deal with it frontally, because we'll reach a day when we cannot turn the tide back. So I put a duty on you as well as civil society for us to have discussions on these very serious issues. I turn now to our neighbor next door, Venezuela. This current crisis between Guyana and Venezuela, created by Maduro, I think is to whip up nationalism under the false pretext that the international community is mistreating Venezuela. I'll tell you why. Maduro reminds me of another leader. He wants to make himself a victim who is defending the motherland and will paint himself as a great patriotic hero of Venezuela, as Bolivar and thereafter Chavez. He'll be the hero himself. Dictators love to boast about their patriotism, while calling opponents, guess what? Unpatriotic. Think of our leader. Everybody else who doesn't agree with him is unpatriotic. Does that sound familiar as I say? It is straight out of the fascist propaganda playbook. Venezuelan elections are in the air. Elections are coming up. His intention seems to be to deploy the army due to the threat of war and then control the streets and movements of persons to prevent campaigning and protests. Sound familiar? Remember COVID? He may then attack and jail opponents for being in league with the imperialists, whom he falsely accuses of stealing land from Venezuela. Due to these tactics, opposition voters may find they will not be able to vote on election day. He may return to power after the Venezuelan elections and everything will just settle down. So all this big hue and cry, we must not jokingly look at it, but we have to look at his past actions. Why would I say that? I want to remind you of his behavior, Maduro. When I was Prime Minister in 2015, in June 2015, the Maduro government in Venezuela, they proclaimed a presidential decree claiming the maritime waters encompassing Guyana's exclusive economic zone. Been there before, he's done that. They did that then because guess what? Parliamentary elections for the National Assembly were being held in December of that same year, 2015. What did I do in 2015 when I was your Prime Minister? There's an article up on the screen. I don't know if you can see it. Look at that screen. Keep on the screen for a few minutes. This here, that article, headline, Trinidad and Tobago, this is when I was Prime Minister in 2015, when Maduro declared his intentions to invade Guyana about the territorial waters. Trinidad and Tobago stands in full support of Guyana and declares of Venezuela's decree as a violation of international law. Backwards, go back, remember. The article continues. The Prime Minister of TNT, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, on Friday announced that her government stands in full support of Guyana in the wake of the decree by Venezuela claiming Guyana's territorial waters. Ms. Persad-Bissessar met with Ghana's then President, David Granger, on Friday morning for bilateral talks. And just after those talks, she indicated that Trinidad and Tobago could not sit idly by and not show its support for Guyana in this latest conflict with Venezuela. The article continues. The Prime Minister reiterated that we pledge our support to Guyana in this matter. We pledge our commitment to support Guyana, and we have always supported Guyana and will continue to do so. Continuing in the article, Trinidad and Tobago shares very good relations with Venezuela, but the Prime Minister said, even as those relations remain unchanged, Guyana will get its support on the border controversy. That was in 2015. That is what I did. I stood up for the people of Guyana in 2015, and the UNC will now stand with the people of Guyana in 2023 and 2024. The same playbook. Venezuelan elections are due in 2024. And so you're hearing the war cries, beating the war drums, mustering troops. Venezuelan elections due 2024. Maduro returns with the same tired dictator playbook. He threatens Guyana and makes territorial claims to whip up national support. It didn't work in 2015. It will not work again in 2023 and 4. I don't want to hear that my support is because Guyana has oil. Discovered oil. At that time, not one drop of oil was pumped out of Guyana soil in 2015 when we gave our commitment as a government and people of Trinidad and Tobago to support Guyana in 2015. So that is rubbish to say, oh, we're only saying this now because Guyana is oil rich. I stood at Guyana before, as I said before, they had a drop of oil out of the soil in July 2015. I also don't want to hear it being said, because they do the dog whistle all the time about race, that we are supporting, the UNC is supporting, because Ghana now has persons in their government, at the head of government, who are Indian. So Indian-led government either. I want you to look at that picture, if we have it up on the screen. That is former President David Granger, whom I supported against Venezuelan aggression in 2015. We stood side by side with him and the people of Ghana. My support was given due to the unbreakable bonds between us and our Guyanese brothers and sisters. And that is what we will do. We will stand with them again. So what is happening now? Rowley sheepishly hides behind the name, he calls it a zone of peace. What is a zone of peace, Rowley? Listen, my clear message to Maduro tonight is, if you interfere with the Guyanese people, you interfere with the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You touch one, and you touch all. We fully support the people of Guyana in this crisis, and we call upon Maduro to obey international law and stay out of the lands occupied by Ghana. I also tell the Guyanese people what I tell you all the time: stand your ground. Stand your ground. You have suffered for too long. Now you have a great future. Don't let anyone take it from you. Stand your ground. And if TNT support with respect to the Dragon Gas deal, if TNT support in that deal means we have to wait longer for that Dragon Gas, so be it. The government must ensure that that Dragon Gas deal does go through, but that the revenue Maduro collects from it is not used for purchasing weapons to use against the Guyanese people or the Venezuelan opposition. We must make sure in whatever arrangements we have with Venezuela that the money they make from that will not end up militarizing through arms and ammunition the Maduro government, which they can then use against the Guyanese people and against opposition forces in Ghana. We should not get into any business dealings with Maduro that could help finance any military action against Ghana. Rowley's talk about the region remaining a zone of peace is not enough. Guyana must know they have the full support with meaningful backing and practical backing from the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Years ago, Eric Williams had told us, years ago, the father of our nation, he had told us, Anil, he is viewed as the father of our nation. Not your father, but he's viewed as the father of the nation. And he had told us that Venezuela had designs on Trinidad and Tobago territory. So you better watch out, what happening up in Guyana could be happening here in TNT. We must take our position clearly, stand with Guyana and stand with the CARICOM in our own defense. And then I'm reading the newspaper as I come to almost finish here tonight. I see something which is a bogus distraction case filed by the dunce man, dunce himself. Senior dunce Reggie Limo. This government has created a failed state in their 8 going into 9 years. They are desperate for a political distraction because, as Munilal and the others told you, they've done nothing, they've built nothing, they've created nothing. Instead, they continue to destroy. Failure, total failure. Following the collapse of the criminal case against Anand Ramlogan and Gerald Ramdeen, it was clear the Rowley government could not get the Honorable DPP to do their bidding. That became very clear when that criminal case against them collapsed. So what they have done now is to bypass the DPP, and they have now filed what is known as a civil claim, following the exposure of a secret illegal indemnity deal between the government through Faris Alwari and one Vincent Nelson. Questions arise from this scandal that justifies there be a criminal investigation into the conduct of Faris Alwari and Roger Cable Singh to determine whether there was a conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. There should be an investigation into these people. And the questions are, why did Alwari hide this indemnity agreement with Vincent Nelson from the DPP? DPP Roger Gaspars has publicly stated he knew nothing about this indemnity agreement. Second, why was this indemnity agreement not disclosed to Justice Malcolm Holdip before he sentenced Nelson in the magistrate's court? 3. Under whose authority did Arawi and K.O. Singh guarantee no prosecution of Nelson when that is the discretion, that is totally in the jurisdiction of the DPP, has nothing to do with the AG? How could Arawi and K.O. Singh promise a non-custodial sentence when sentences are a matter for the court, not the AG? How they could promise that? How could Awari and K.O. Singh promise a presidential pardon for Nelson when again that is a matter for the Independent Mercy Committee and the President of the country? So they've compromised all these institutions in the promises they made in this indemnity they gave to Vincent Nelson. Awari and K.O. Singh's misbehavior has implicated several independent institutions that cannot afford to remain silent, and I make these calls in light of what I've just said. I call on the judiciary. Rudy called on the judiciary to answer another question. This is a serious question they have to answer. I call on the judiciary to publicly state whether the illegal indemnity agreement between Nelson and Faris Alwari was ever presented to the presiding judge, the Honorable Justice Malcolm Holdip, before sentences. What's it ever brought to his attention? 2. The Mercy Committee and the Office of the President must disclose any discussions regarding the grant of a presidential pardon promised to Nelson. The TTPS and Anti-Corruption Bureau must state if any senior members of the police service or the Anti-Corruption Bureau colluded with government to give the assurance to Nelson that we will face no charges. Faris Alwari must disclose if he sought cabinet approval or did he consult the Prime Minister before he entered into the illegal indemnity agreement with Vincent Nelson. I call on both Faris and the Prime Minister to say whether there was governmental approval for that indemnity. Faris must state if he requested cabinet approval or consulted the Prime Minister before he paid Nelson's lawyer, Roger K.O. Singh, over $4 million in legal fees, with millions more to his UK legal team. Tonight I issue a challenge to Senior Duns Amo, the lying Attorney General. You have filed another case against Anand. I hope when you lose that case that you will pay out of your pocket. You will pay the fees out of the pocket, and it will not be the taxpayers of TNT to pay those fees. And I issue another challenge to you, Amo. If your name man, come and argue the case yourself. Come and argue the case yourself in the court of law. This case is a bogus distraction. It is a naked abuse of power. Hounding down Anand, mainly because there's a man fighting every in the courthouse and winning his cases. You have a vendetta against him because you could never match up, you could never fit in the shoes of Anand as a lawyer. So come, if you're a man, come to court and fight the case for yourself. Today I thank you all very much again. I urge you to please be more vigilant during the season and even after that. These criminals are lurking outside our banks to punks on the elderly. They're near our children's schools. They invade our homes, and the reign of terror is endless. If you're going to the bank, the ATM, especially to withdraw money, do so knowing you'll be targeted and robbed. Have family members accompany you, especially older people. Take different routes from your home to the bank. Banks have been making mega profits in the billions, and they must step up security outside of the bank. Criminals are sitting inside and outside, watching and waiting to pounce. These commercial banks need to do better with their security arrangements for customers. So, as you go out there to your Christmas shopping, and some of you are just going to do Christmas watching because you don't have the wherewithal to do the shopping, I am appealing to you, please be vigilant. I pray there will be no mourning during this holy season. Instead, only cheer and celebrations. Again, I appeal to you to be guarded. We move on to the next pavement report, Thursday, Tunapuna, El Dorado Pantent on the Cora Road. I ask you to tune in and listen in. I want to thank you all, and always remember, may God's blessings be with you all in this holy season. And always remember, I love you. And I ask you to stay. Let us all stay together. United we can. Together we can. United we stand. Together we can. United we stand. On the road to victory, we'll sweep them out of the Red House, out of Whitehall, and out of government entirely. Once we stay, together we can. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.
And all of them still get. So who feel the black? Who feel the white? I don't know. But it's settled tomorrow night. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Come and go. And all who feel the too bright, let me jump up, let me wind up, party non-stop. Ramage bingo like el que te, we come to play mass. Every creed and class, don't let nothing pass. La carreti TV, all the love inside the way. Uptown and ghetto, feeling the tempo. So current I so, it's party day like so. Soon as we land, fun is the plan. We like the jam, like the man.